Alrighty, so today I want to talk about an issue that I've found with my Mavic 2 Pro. And I don't know how widespread this actually is, so this may not affect everybody. And I'm not trying to cause any sort of widespread panic about this, but there is a problem that I've found with the Mavic 2 Pro and the smart controller. And this all came right after the update that allowed you to bind the Air 2 to the smart controller. So we're going to talk about this problem, so stick around. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo, and in today's video I want to talk about an issue that I've found with the smart controller and the Mavic Air 2, also a solution for it if you are having this problem. It's not the best solution, but it did work in my use case. So the past couple of weeks I've been using the smart controller, the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic 2 Pro, and for the past couple of weeks I've been suffering disconnects, app freezes, crashes, and total loss of use with the Mavic 2 Pro, along with reduced distance with the smart controller. It's been so bad that I actually have opted to go back to using my standard controller to be able to fly my Mavic 2 Pro. And at one point, I thought that I was having so many issues that I had a lemon. I thought the Mavic 2 Pro was a lemming, and I kept swapping them out at the shop to just find that every single one of them performed the same way. So it's really, really ironic that 4 different Mavics would perform the same way, but sure enough, they did. Now, what caused me some pause in all this was when I went out to Colorado, I took the Mavic Air 2 bound to the smart controller and I had no problems. I was able to go 3-4 miles on the Mavic Air 2 with the smart controller, not have any lag or disconnects, and everything seemed fine. But I came back and started flying this with the Mavic 2 Pro, and immediately disconnects and app freezes started happening again. Now, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together that the software would actually be the problem, but no doubt definitely was. So when I went up to Philadelphia, I had a couple of really close calls with this. One happened when I was at Graffiti Pier, which was like the breaking point, where it disconnected 800 feet away from me and the app froze. Basically, no matter what I did, I could not get a visual feed back down to the smart controller. I still had line of sight, I can still control it, which was great, but I couldn't do anything else beyond that. So that evening I came home and I went to DJI Assistant and I looked at the version that I was currently on. And in this case, it was 1.00.0820, and that was the one that was released on 9/22. I remember that I upgraded to the update that was released on 4/24, which was 1.00.0700. I don't know if you remember that. That was right about the time that the Mavic Air 2 was announced. And I didn't have any problems with that firmware. It's been phenomenal and it's been working great with the Mavic Air or Mavic 2 Pro and the smart controller. So I decided to downgrade the firmware as a last-ditch effort. We were going to Newport Beach the next day and I didn't want to miss out on any of the footage. So I had no choice. I downgraded it and I flew it. And almost immediately, I noticed a difference as far as the transmission signal down to the smart controller, along with the distance. I was having trouble going 1,200 feet with the smart controller, and I was able to get over 8,000 feet at Croton Dam. Straight out over the water, 8,000 feet, no problem, no issue. Back and forth, did not lose connection, not one time, and there were several drones in the air and I didn't have a single problem. So, if you are having this issue, the easiest way to fix this is to just downgrade your firmware. Go back to the 0700 update and see if that helps. If it does help and you notice that the issue was on the previous version, you're gonna have to decide, is it worth flying the Mavic 2 Pro on the smart controller or the Air 2? This is not gonna be an issue that affects everybody because some people just have the Air 2 and the smart controller. So in that case, don't even worry about this video. But if you are having this problem, and if you're one of the few that do have both of these drones, you may have to make a decision. But I definitely do believe that there is a problem, as I've heard this from numerous people in the groups. And most notably, one of the most hardcore DJI fanboys that I know, Lon Denard, calls me up on Saturday and says to me, he goes, you know, I think you were right about the firmware because I've been having disconnects literally well before 2,000 feet. And the app keeps freezing and I don't have the same distance that I had before. So he ended up downgrading the firmware as well, tried it again, and boom, his problems are gone. So there's got to be some sort of correlation. And his assumption is that there is a difference between the radios, a subtle difference between the radios of the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic 2 Pro. And the compromise leans more towards the Mavic Air 2 and not the protocols that the Mavic 2 Pro uses. So I don't know how true that is. Neither one of us are an engineer, but if I had to guess, it sounds pretty logical. I hope this is something that DJI can figure out. And if you are having a problem with this or losing signal at a short distance after the latest firmware version, please comment down below. I want to tag DJI in this because I would love to know if they could take a look at this and if anybody else is experiencing this problem. I shouldn't drink before I film. I really shouldn't. Alrighty, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, do all the things down below, and I will catch you guys on Drone Brews. We've got a great episode. We've got Kelly Shore guest hosting, filling in for producer Paul, and I've got Beagle Drones coming on tomorrow night. That is going to be Wednesday, October 28th. So if you're watching this in the future, this that already happened, go back and check that episode out. All right, guys, stay original.